Hello, my little ninjas. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. And welcome to your Wake and Bake News at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Moxie. And let me apologize for my appearance right up front. I'm not sorry. It's just I lost my girl, and I was wearing these clothes. I don't know if they have her scent on them or just remind me of the last few minutes. And but I don't want to take them off just yet. I will soon, hopefully. Really need a bath. If I don't run a comb through my beard soon, I won't be able to. So that will be something to look forward to in the future. But right now, we are doing this, which is your Wake and Bake News at 7 p.m. And it's been a long day. It's been a long week. It's been a long 2 weeks. Thanks for your understanding of me not being able to do a regular nightly show for the last couple weeks. I really appreciate it. It's been a mess, and I wanted it that way, with my girl, and because it's not so much I wanted it to be a mess as I wanted her home. I wanted her to die in my arms. If that's the way it's gotta be, then the best way to go is with someone you love loving on you. I think that's the way she felt about it, anyways. And I apologize. I tried to get this all out last night. I just it's one of those things, It's going to be a while getting it all out. So let's see, where were we? The border crisis. I was gonna do a show about the title being "What the hell is wrong with Mike?" But I decided that we should wait and do that title on Friday. So on Dabs for Donations Friday this week, we will do "What the hell is wrong with Mike?" show. I'll post it soon so that I'll schedule it soon so that everybody can go and comment on what the hell is wrong with Mike before the show even starts. And I know what the hell is wrong with Mike. And I am happy to discuss it with you, only not this evening. We'll get to that in time. Okay, so that being said, it's a call-in show. If anybody wants to call, please feel free to call anytime. You know the routine. Otherwise, I owe Jackie Cat a big fat dab because she's so wonderful and so generous. And pretty much the only person who, unless I'm out here begging someone to kick something down, she's the only one that does it. And pretty much even when I do beg, a lot of times she's the only one. So thank you very much, Jackie Cat. I will do a big fat bong hit in your honor momentarily. Now, the border crisis, as I was saying, I don't know, honestly, how to feel about this. I mean, I understand the idea of desperation. I don't really understand desperation. I don't think I've ever experienced desperation in my lifetime. I've been without money. I've been without a place to live. But I never felt all that desperate. As where these people must be, the desperation that they feel must be a completely different level from what I can relate to. So I feel bad for them. I want to do the right thing by them. I want to act, as if I would want someone to act towards me if I was feeling that level of desperation. And that being said, I I think that there should be requirements. I think there should be COVID requirements. I think there should be other medical requirements. You know, there should be some type of a quarantine, and you can't have a mass quarantine, right? You can't have, 50 people in a cage. That's not quarantine. Quarantine is, okay, we have a 4-person family unit here. We're going to put them in this tiny little space. I mean, not necessarily super tiny, but this space, where they have a bathroom and a kitchen and a bedroom or whatever, and are able to stay in that space for at least 2 weeks. This is the way it has to be. That's the way it is for me to go to Canada. Also, I have to prove vaccination, and it's not good enough to show a negative test. I have to prove vaccination. I have to prove, it's getting to where you have to prove you have a vaccination to get a job. It's going to be soon, you have to show your vaccine card. If you're a legal resident and you want to continue to be a legal resident without going to prison or FEMA camps or whatever it is next. Re-education camps. I would think that this is the rules that should apply. Number one is that, if this is where we're all at, that everybody has to have a vaccination, which they're inflicting upon the people of this great nation that are supposed to be free. And from what I understand, the people that are coming across the border are not being forced to show proof of vaccination. They're not being tested. They're certainly not being quarantined. And I don't think that they're vaccinating them either, from what I hear. I don't hear anything about how all the people coming across the border are being vaccinated. And again, it doesn't do any good just to be vaccinated. You have to be vaccinated and then quarantine for 2 weeks, right? This is the incubation period, 2 weeks. So this is the way it should be to come into the country, minimum. Now, for me to go into any other country, I have to have a passport. And I think that should really and truly be, again, I don't want to treat these people unfairly. Because of their level of desperation. They don't need anybody else piling in on top of them. And I don't think quarantining for 2 weeks at a time, if, again, with your, in a private space, you can't quarantine 40 people in a room. That's not quarantining. You want to quarantine, you have to break them down into groups of 4 or whatever. And, then you have a chance of actually doing what needs to be done if there is, some plague going on. That being said, again, I think that you want to treat the people fairly. At the same time, if it was me, I would have to be quarantined for some places. I would have to show proof of vaccination and pretty much anywhere I want to go. I think to get on a plane, you have to show proof of vaccination. I would have to, again, get there, be tested, quarantine, and then also I would have to show a passport. And the reason why I make this kind of important, the reason why I think this is important, is because, again, if I go to any other country, that I have to show a passport. And the reason being that I have to show a passport isn't just simply because, I can because I have a passport. That's not why I show a passport. I show a passport so that the people, the country that I'm entering, knows exactly who it is that's entering that country. And in United States declared war on terror, it's important to know who it is that's coming across the border. I mean, these people want to talk about, people in the streets protesting as domestic terrorists. They want to talk about groups going out into the street and protesting as potential domestic terrorists, as potential threats, as, we have to watch these people. Not only do we have to watch them closely, we have to prepare for them to attack. I mean, they spent how many tens of thousands of dollars putting up fence around the Capitol for this last weekend because there was going to be a protest down there, which I understand was about 400 or 500 people. So there's going to be a protest, and they have to show how terrified they are in order for people to understand how terrifying these protesters are, these group of people, these people who believe in freedom, these people who believe that the protesters on January 6th deserve justice. They're a threat to us all. That's why we got to put the fence up. That's why every member of Congress needs added security pay so that they can have their own security detail or whatever that is they need security wise, right? Which is how many thousands of dollars a month that they wouldn't be getting if we weren't under some kind of Washington, D.C. and the Capitol wasn't under some type of security threat from domestic terrorists. Meanwhile, people that we have no idea who they are being entering the country. And to me, I would be, at a time of a war on terror, where you and your daughter and your wife are potential enemy combatants, or potential terrorists, either way you want to put it. The NDAA puts it as potential enemy combatants. NDAA is the National Defense Authorization Act, which was the bastard child of the Patriot Act. So let's see, where are we at? Right, I just feel like there should be some type of. It's not so much. Fair play, even like when I go somewhere, I have to have a passport. It's not so much that as I simply want to know who it is that's coming across the border, and who it is that's coming across the border. And it's, again, in a time of plague, number one, in a time of a war on terror, we need to know who's coming across the border. Finally, 20 years later, that the war on terror has been going on, and 4-year-old girls have been crossing the border for 20 years undetected during a war on terror. I guess we're going to actually get around to finding out, I don't think we are. I don't think we're going to find out. See, and I've said this all along, is it's important. I'm very pro-immigration. It's important to know in a time of a war on terror who it is that's coming into our country, right? So I think that they should have some kind of proper ID. Whatever that is, it should be able to be accessed online at the border by, Department of Homeland Security. And that means a driver's license in Ecuador or whatever. I'm sure they have, different types of ID, and the Homeland Security should be able to access security in pretty much every single country around the world. So, if you don't have ID, I don't know what to tell you. Then we have to do some kind of processing. We'll have to figure out how to deal with that. There's some type of processing where you're able to get ID, but it may take weeks and weeks and weeks for that to happen, and you may have to stay on the other side of the fence before you can, while you're getting that ID. And we'll be more than happy to help you get that ID, but it may take a while. That being said, again, we're the vaccination thing. Okay, we're in the middle of this fucking deadly, deadly, deadly plague. Right? We're all gonna die. I remember when it first started, and we're getting phone calls saying, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Well, it's 2 years later, and I'm not saying that we're not all going to die. I'm pretty sure that we're all going to die. And I'm pretty sure that it's coming our way much, much faster than anyone might imagine. That being said, I really don't think it's going to be from this particular plague. Still, as we're being told over and over and over again that we're in the middle of this deadly plague, right? How can we just allow people from, foreign countries to just enter the United States willy-nilly, no coronavirus testing, no plague testing, no requirement of a plague vaccine? Why is that okay? I I don't know. I know, again, it wouldn't be okay for me to go into a foreign country without showing proof of vaccination and in many countries being quarantined. So, this is what I think really needs to happen over the phone is live. This is what I think needs to happen, is that we need to make it clear to all the people that are coming here is that you have to have proper ID in order to enter our country. Okay? And I'm not talking about your 4-year-old daughter or whatever, I'm saying if you want to enter this country, what's up, buddy? Something going on? Come here, it's fine. If you want to enter this country, you should have to have ID. Now, again, we will help you get the ID if that's possible. If you're telling us the truth and we find some way to, figure out who you are, identify you properly, we'll help you make that happen. If we can't, you can't enter the country. It's a war on terror. There's horrible things. Go back to your country, get a proper ID, and then come back and see us. Or go somewhere else. Go to the Mexico consulate. We tried to help you. We cannot establish that help at this time. And then as far as the vaccine, you're going to come into the country. Unless you have proof of vaccine that we can, verify, then you're going to have to be vaccinated. That's what's happening in this country. Anybody who's a federal employee now has to be vaccinated. Almost all the states, if you're a state employee, you have to be vaccinated. In Seattle, if you want to go to a restaurant, you have to be vaccinated. So, if that's the way it is for me, for everyone else in our country who actually lives here in the land of the free, then it should be absolutely mandatory that you're vaccinated if you're entering the country, right? I just feel like that's basic. If they're trying to force me to do it, which I think is un-American, and I think it's backfiring on them horribly, because the pushback is going to be tremendous. And I'm very much looking forward to that. That being said, it's about time for a bong hit. I owe a big fat bong hit to the lovely Jackie Cat. And I will be very interested in making that happen momentarily. Mike Me. What is wrong with Mike Me? Jackie Cat. It's a question that's been asked throughout the years. And I think we should try and figure it out. So we'll be doing that show on Friday. What the hell is wrong with Mike? Maybe it'll become a recurring theme. Because there's probably a lot to discuss. So I have a video here about volcano going off. I have a video about Proud Boys protest and vaccine mandatory vaccine protesters. in the same story. It's which I again, this is why it's so important not to act as if protesters are somehow the problem. Protesters are incredibly brave people going out into the streets in a police state, in a comply or die police state, in which that state looks at them as if they are domestic terrorists. And they go out into the street and they stand up. And the problem with looking at the protesters as if they're domestic terrorists, or let's say the Proud Boys, or the Oath Keepers, or the January 6th protesters, right? The problem with looking at them as if, they're terrorists is that, next it's the anti-vax people that are terrorists, or the anti-war people. They already look at the anti-war people as if they're terrorists. It seems as if for quite some time they've looked at protesters as if they're terrorists, and I think with this January 6th thing that they're pushing it to a whole new level, and trying to get as many people on board as possible. Those January 6th protesters are definitely domestic terrorists. Brave Americans standing up, going into the streets, standing up in a comply or die police state, to demand that their representative governments hear their voices. This is a proud American tradition. There's almost nothing more beautiful about the United States than us being able to go into the streets and demand that our government change its evil ways. And this is why I keep calling for us all to come together, for us all to respect the protesters, because we all belong there in the streets. We all belong standing shoulder to shoulder. The world doesn't have to be this way. Our country doesn't have to be this way. We belong there with our brothers and sisters, standing up and demanding that our representative government change its evil ways. And until that day, we got to stick with this evil government. And we'll be talking much more about that soon, but I wanted to set up this video clip so that we can talk to someone on the phone. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fine.
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Uh-huh. Yes.
On the phone?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Because sometimes I blank out when I'm in this spot. But I'm doing well. The rains came this weekend, and it was amazing. So when I drive to work, I drive like 30 miles to work south of Olympia. I get to see Mount Rainier from a lot of different views, but there's this one view in particular over this little river that I get to see. And the mountain has just been brown. Literally, it's been more brown than I've seen it in 30 years. Just like big, gaping brown spots on the mountain. And it's usually white because it snows up there, right? So this morning or this afternoon when I got off of work and I was driving home, I got a chance to see the mountain and Mount Rainier, and it was completely white. It had snowed there all weekend. And from my view, where I was, it was just completely white. It was just like, wow. It just felt really good.
Right on.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, that's our water for next year, right? It's all the snow that's up there on the mountain. Is a lot of the water for the rivers that are near I live, anyway. So the subject of immigration, right? That was the That was the topic, like what to do with immigrants and do they need to be monitored and such, right?
No, the question is what should be done about the border, the crisis on the border. Meaning, there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of immigrants that are beginning to stack up on the border, and that's a giant crisis when you have something like that. That's a big disease
It's a
spreader.
human.
It's living in a giant human sewer with sewage and just the worst kind of things everywhere. And the question is, what should be done about that?
All right. Well, the International Red Cross and the International Red Crescent are organizations that are able to deal with refugees very efficiently in countries like Turkey and Syria and Lebanon and Jordan and throughout the Middle East and other parts of the world as well. They basically show up. These are like, international non-governmental organizations. They show up and they pitch army tents and they create like very safe sanitary conditions, to the best of their abilities for people who are living in short-term conditions. And it happens all over the world. Why the U.S. government isn't able to provide that for people in the transition period is just mind-boggling, since it happens all over the world. I think that there should be like a place where these people are provided food, medicine, basic hygiene, right, and like basic, human dignity while they're in this transition period.
Yeah.
While they're being questioned or whatnot.
Yeah.
Why are they doing what they're doing? However, I just want to make this broader point about immigration is a really big subject because a lot of people believe that, immigration exists partially to cut wages in the United States, right, for labor. So, if you hire people under the table and they're doing agricultural work or they're doing like work as domestic servants or they're doing work in like construction, right, they're basically bringing down the wages of all of those other people who are working in those industries. So big business like corporate America can just turn the spigot on with immigration, and it basically means that like, they can find other contractors that will provide them with services for less money. It's like fucking organized crime, Mike?
It seems to be very much like organized crime.
Like organized crime. So these people are desperate and they're fleeing. And then there's another side to this story too, is like the United States through imperialism and war destroyed many of these countries like 35, 45 years ago.
Drug war too, ongoing.
And then the drug war for the last 40 years on top of it, with violent, extraordinary. I'm thinking of like those gangs from El Salvador, extremely violent criminals, right? Terrorizing the local population for 5 or 10 years or whatever. Yeah. And so those people live in those conditions and their wages really suck. Not like suck by American standards, but they're so poor by world standards that they can't afford to feed their children. So when their children turn like 15 years old, they leave and they go and look for money and they go north, where the person's going to pay them under the table to cut wages in the United States. So I don't know. There's a lot of facts. So I did find one reference, Mike, and it's from the Pew Research Organization, and this is a think tank, of course, and they also like do data, for like polling. They do polling, and this is from 2 years ago, 2018, and they're talking about like just statistics about immigrants. And so it says like 77% of immigrants in the country are here legally. And basically in 2017, 45% became naturalized U.S. citizens. 27% of immigrants were permanent residents. And it just is all of these statistics about immigrants. The largest countries that immigrants come from are Mexico, 25%, China, India, the Philippines follow that. And then from El Salvador, and and they said by 2050, there's 45 million Americans in the United States right now who were born in another country out of a population of 320 million people. There's 45 million people who are born in another country. So a lot of our neighbors already are from other places. I don't think Americans should be afraid of immigrants. Like, that's ridiculous. And I hope we reach the point where we're past that. You know what I mean?
I think it's ridiculous to be afraid of immigrants. The point being, though, we should know who's coming across the border, and we should know, if everybody else is being forced to be vaccinated, then there has to be some kind of a standard that applies to them, whether it's just a quarantine, testing and quarantine, or if they have to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
We're being told this is a matter of life and death, and then they're getting a complete pass. So, which I understand.
Right.
You don't want to have forced vaccinations. Here we're going to shoot this serum into you if you're going to come into the United States. You don't want that, but you don't hesitate to do it to your own people.
Well, I think that the science, from what I understand, is that vaccinated and unvaccinated people are both capable of spreading the virus, right? That's the science that I understand. So therefore, like, whether you're vaccinated or you're unvaccinated, you're still able to spread the virus. So if you show up on an airplane and you're vaccinated and that doesn't mean that you can't, like, be spreading virus around, right?
Yeah.
There's this idea that unvaccinated people are unclean and they're dirty and they're the fucking problem. But in reality, all of these sheeple who willingly took this vaccine for whatever reason, for fear, manipulation, wanting to participate, whatever their reasons were, I don't care.
They took it to be safe. That's why anybody takes any vaccination.
Okay. Sure. So, I think there's other reasons why. I think people are actually taking the vaccinations in this time because they can have access to services.
Right. Yeah,
like get on an airplane.
I agree.
That isn't necessarily about their health per se.
Right. I agree with that. But I mean, overall, people who lined up to get their vaccine, they took it to be safe. That's the reason they took it.
Correct. But what I'm getting at is that vaccinated people also spread COVID-19,
right?
Just like unvaccinated people. So essentially, like, the vaccine does not prevent transmission of disease. Therefore, vaccinated people are as much of a health risk, in quotation marks, as unvaccinated people. And this is all just bullshit. And logic, basic logic, can make people recognize this is just fucking crazy. Like, this person can spread disease as much as that person. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And right? It's not that fucking complicated. But part of this COVID-19 narrative, this false script that's been put out there, is part of this World Economic Forum Great Reset. And if people Google that, they'll find a chart. And that chart is really easy. It shows like about 50 different topics around a circle, and then inside of the circle are like 6 or 7 main topics, and then the Great Reset is in the center. And this study came out a month before the plague even happened. And it was, how could the world community, the world economic community, banks and corporations and wealthy individuals, respond to this crisis in a way where we could get everything that we wanted pushed through real quickly, because the people will be super afraid. And one of the things that they wanted is this thing called a digital ID, right?
Mm.
And this is from the World Bank. That's one of these big institutions, right? It says providing legal identity for all human beings, including birth registration, by 2030 is a target shared by the international community as part of the Sustainable Development Goals. The World Bank Group has launched the Identification for Development Cross-Practice Initiative to help our client countries achieve this goal, and with the vision of making everyone count. That sounds like a political slogan. Make everyone count. Ensure a unique legal identity and enable digital ID-based services to all. That sounds almost like, George Washington or Karl Marx. Like, bring it to everyone, a digital ID. And the COVID-19 crisis with everyone in the world potentially being vaccinated, means that when they receive the vaccination, they get like a barcode that goes with that vaccination, and it matches their name and identity. So if you have a digital identity, i.e. a passport or a name or some mark on a human, right, that enables a lot of things to happen. And the World Bank is really excited about this because they realize that once we identify 7.8 billion people and give them all a hashtag barcode, right, well, that will allow us to do things like cash transfers to pensioners, improved tax collection and loan repayments, cashless health insurance for households, payroll savings by eliminating public sector ghost workers. So what they'll do is they'll privatize the entire world, Mike, and you won't be able to get phone service like from the national Iranian phone service any longer. You'll be buying it from, a huge private telecom that's owned in London or in New York. That's the future, Mike. And this is all just rolling us in this direction of like where we are just serfs living in a corporate world. Just pay your fucking Hulu bill next week. Make sure your Comcast bill gets paid. Pay your fucking cell phone bill. Pay your car bill. Pay your insurance bill. Pay your mortgage. Pay your rent. Do all of those things and get a goddamn vaccine passport, and you'll be fine.
Well, I'm kind of shit out of luck on all of those things, so...
Yeah, man, we ought to have a drink some night in a bar, man, because we're in the same boat, Mike, on that score.
Except for I don't drink, so...
I know. Well, we could, drink carrot juice. I like carrot juice.
There needs to be a dab bar, goddammit.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Jay Inslee is never going to give us one, at least in the next 5 years. Unfortunately.
Yeah, he's not going to let people grow marijuana in their homes because he's a fucking Nazi.
The thing about immigration, Mike, I personally think that if I want to move to Russia, or if I want to move to Switzerland, or if I want to move to, the Sahara, or if I want to move to the rainforest of South America or to Southeast Asia or something, I think that, I don't know, this passport thing has always been super privileged, right? From the very beginning of who got passports and why they exist. It's like rich people got them, diplomats got them, and then eventually, all of us had to use a passport when we travel from one place to another. Who are you? A record of who you are and such, right? But, when you take it to an extreme level, it could lead to, complete erosion of privacy rights.
That exists anymore.
Yeah.
I got to take a break.
Yeah, Mike. Hey, have a good night.
All right, thanks for calling. It's good to hear from you.
Good night. Peace.
Yeah, we don't really. There is, the Fourth Amendment is supposed to be, our privacy, or our right to, not be searched, searched, I can't remember at the moment, but it's all about the fact that you have the right to privacy, and apparently, they're searching your phone constantly, they're searching our computers constantly, they're watching everything you do online. That's basic privacy, and obviously, Alex Jones used to talk about how your he said, what did he say? He said, your washing machine is listening to you. Right? And people are like, Alex Jones thinks he's washing me. But you see on this remote control right here, there's a little button right there with a microphone. And when you hit that button, right, it makes this noise. And that means that the television is listening, and you can tell it whatever the fuck you want. And it brings up, whatever the fuck you want on the TV. And, but we're supposed to be led to believe that little button, right, on the Comcast cable remote, it should say Comcast on here, they don't want you to know it's Comcast, Xfinity, on the Comcast cable remote, they want you to believe that you have to push the button down, in order to be heard, right? But why would they make that so complicated when they could just listen to you all the time? And now know, we're supposed to respond to what it says. Hello, caller.
Hello, Mike. It's Psyops.
What's up, G? Long time no hear.
Yeah, I've been traveling around and going through some rough experiences with the town. Every town I go to has its own little gangster group of thugs or something, and some guy in town wanted to lip off or something because I'm new here, and I guess he felt threatened or something. I don't know. It was, but that's another story. I'm not too concerned. I was more concerned as I started tripping out, phoning the Legion and stuff, and maybe mentioning that I might phone like the NSA and have everybody tracked, or like the IRS, and because I'm an ex-soldier and I'm kind of trained, and I don't even want to defend myself. It's very offensive to me because I know that I could, and this guy is a freaking animal, and I can't mess around, so I just don't want to play. Anyways, that's not why I was calling. I've managed to settle myself in a different motel from the last crazy place I was at, and this one's a little more remote. And anyways, so I tuned in. I listened to the last caller about halfway through. Very intelligent guys, a lot of different ideas there. You were just talking about Alex Jones when I called and saying I can't even stand saying the guy's name, but I think he's totally controlled opposition. And he just gives legal notice of everything that's coming, and he never provides solutions. Just the show must go on, and he just tells you all the stuff, but nobody ever goes further to research.
Well, I don't think that Alex Jones was originally controlled opposition. I believe that.
No, probably not.
I think that he probably got busted for something, but originally,
extortion.
He brought a lot of attention to 9/11 and the corruption of the government and the war effort and all of that.
Yeah. I agree. And then if I think of because I think of some strange stuff. There's a UK a magician, illusionist. He's really kind of famous, like a national treasure over there, Darren Brown. There's Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens. I listened to all of them in their debates, but then I took a perspective of they can't be that stupid to realize that the people playing the opposite role, or the devil's advocate, or the opposite side of the debate, are using. I'm PSYOPs agent, and so these people are using psychological manipulation tactics. They're using logical fallacies. They're using debate tactics that are an automatic loss in a debate. And if you were making a bet like in a contract in Vegas, they would lose. And they can't. And Christopher Hitchens can't be that stupid. Neither can Richard Dawkins. So they're doing it to educate the public. But Darren Brown is a magician and illusionist, and the people that I think are criminals are using those similar kind of tactics, like Goebbels and the Nazis and stuff like that. And there's a group of them, but I don't know. See, Darren Brown could be, if the whole world is I don't believe in the devil or God, but if let's pretend like Greek theater, if the whole world was in...
Hey, God doesn't need you to believe in God, okay?
Yeah, well, that's fine, yeah. But I'm just trying to, if there was just say there was an evil kind of thing trying to take over the world with some kind of devil's contract. In the proverbial myths, the devil obeys contract law. He might be he's lawful evil, I guess, in Dungeons and Dragons alignments, but he's lawful and he's evil, and he obeys contract law, even that piece of crap. So every other human being that's a dirtbag that doesn't obey contract law is not even as cool as the devil. They're not even as worthy or as honorable as him. And
there are few that are as honorable as Lucifer. I will tell you right now.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure there are. I'm 100%. Yeah, yeah. So, but to me, Lucifer means pie coat, but that's another story. But so if there was another situation there, Darren Brown is either a legitimate guy trying to expose fake people that can pretend to read or talk to your dead grandmother and all that. And he does these things to prove that it's cold reading and all these other tactics. But I've considered the possibility that he could be one of them, just giving legal notice so that it's all okay technically. and that everybody can be offed in, some technical manner, because they are all kind of profane goyim, or not that I think this, but I'm just trying to say these options. Because I believe, are primates on planet Earth, and like you were talking earlier about the immigrants coming over, and the other gentleman on the phone was talking about a lot of really intelligent things. But I'm thinking, why don't they just stay where they are? And he said something about mobile units or something. I can't remember what he was saying, but I was thinking, why don't you just go and build some kind of thing there? Why can't, we're primates? What about the Hanging Gardens of Babylon? It pissed me off since I was a kid. Couldn't even see over the dashboard of my mom's car. Asking my mom, why don't we grow bananas? We're primates, Mom.
Why don't we grow anything? We don't grow shit, man.
Trees,
We could, they talk about the earth being this dried up fucking desert. And the one thing that humans are really good at is growing stuff. So if it was a priority to make the world green, we could do that, but it's not a priority for anybody. So what the hell? What kind of leadership do we have in this planet?
Yeah, thank you. Because you just reminded me of something earlier today. I read some comments. Some guy was talking to somebody else going, hey, Boomer. I was just reading comments. He was like, hey, Boomer, what have you ever done to try and fix the world? The whole world's crap because of you. And I made a recording. I made a video and a recording, and I was screaming because I was going to upload it, but I thought, no, I better not, because it was just a lot of F this, F that, you F and mofo. And I was just like, I was drawing pictures when I was in high school when recycling was introduced of like paper, plastic, and trash garbage cans. And my sister told me I was an idiot. But then 2 years later, they're all over every major city in the world. And there was a movie, Jack Nicholson, apparently, who killed the electric car. People have been trying to do something. There's this subversive hidden hand element that keeps screwing everybody around all the time in this little... what did Kennedy say? He referred to the monolithic conspiracy at guerrillas by day or whatever, and things by night. Lysander Spooner referred to them as dens of vipers and thieves. I see them as compartmentalized groups of idiots that are just being used and tricked into thinking that they're CIA or KGB or some kind of demonic cult. But they're all being used.
Look, it's simpler than that, okay? So... it's not demonic. There may be a lot of demonic shit going on, but that's not what's happening to the people. What's happening to the people is they're becoming stupid by believing that they know what's going on, by pointing their finger at the other person and saying those people are the problem. We had one of these people the other night that was like, oh, boomers this, boomers that. I'm like, all you're doing is buying into the division. All you're doing is pointing fingers and saying those guys are the problem, instead of saying, hey, we all have this moment to come together and make something happen. You're being just another dickhole who's standing over there saying it's somebody else's fault, not me.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. And then when I hear some kid going, hey, boomer, to somebody else, because I'm a few years shy, I guess, I don't know. But to me, it just runs backwards through everything that I've seen growing up, and I'm like, remember right away, as soon as somebody says boomer, I see the scene from Back to the Future where Marty McFly was trying to go, hey, daddy-o, and I'm like, totally, like, hey, cool, dude, rad, all this, whatever, gold, every generation has its Miley Cyrus, it's Christina Aguilera, it's whatever, Drew Barrymore, it's Madonna. It gets boring after a while with the Disney princesses turning into sluts and all the whatever boy bands.
Hey, don't be bad-mouthing sluts. I gotta take a break, okay? It's good to hear from you. I hope you're doing okay.
I'm just teasing you there a bit. Okay, yeah, and I send out condolences to you. I saw yesterday's video.
Thanks very much.
Take care.
Okay, thanks for calling.
All right, peace.
I gotta go heat up my tea. So,
Yeah. Me too.
Talk to you later.
I got a small female chihuahua, and every day I'm nervous trying to take care of her and make sure she's safe and okay.
Good. So, a man has got to have priorities, damn it. All right, thanks for calling. See you later.
Bye.
All right, so... okay, so this boomer thing, right? We had one of these callers last week. They're all, oh yeah, boomer this, boomer that, you know. And it's this thing where it's like it's not because of us. We didn't do it, right? But you can be the solution, or you can continue to be this stupid thing where you say, oh, it's their fault. Well, if you don't do anything to be the solution, then I guess it's your fucking fault too. Okay? So get a fucking clue, and instead of trying to divide us even more than we're already divided, the only way to fix this is for us to come together and say, this is what we have to do. Because if we come together and we say, this is what we have to do, we can make happen almost anything. And there's no doubt in my mind about that. I'm going to go and heat up my tea, and when I get back, I'm going to do a big fat bong hit for Jackie Cat, because she is so wonderful. And I am so lucky to have her as being part of the Mox News team, Mox News family. All right, I'll be back in just a minute, and thanks so much for tuning in. This is about the border crisis and how Joe Biden is dealing with it.
And where's Joe? And where's Camilla Harris? That's the Stevie Wonder pronunciation, so I can't be racist for saying that. Joe Biden captured on a joyride at the beach this weekend amid his many growing crises. Biden was carefree as he dodged reporters, hit all their questions on the humanitarian crisis in Del Rio, Texas, his disastrous diplomatic crisis in France, and the deadly drone strike in Kabul that left civilians dead, including 7 children. Joining me now to discuss, Goliad, Texas Sheriff Roy Boyd, along with Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council, Chris Cabrera. Gentlemen, welcome. Sheriff, we're going to begin with you. No shortage of disasters under Biden. While he vacationed over 16,000 illegal aliens, mostly Haitians, who have reportedly been living in Chile and Brazil for the past 3 to 5 years, crammed under that international bridge in Del Rio, Texas, Biden claims he's going to be sending back these illegal aliens. But reports on the ground suggest Team Biden is ignoring a Supreme Court order to reinstitute the Remain in Mexico policy. What can you tell us? Is Biden being honest with the American people by saying he's sending these people back, or is he lying to America again?
Once again, the federal government has absolutely failed us here in the United States. I have contacts within the Border Patrol who tell me that after they came out publicly and said that these individuals would be deported back to Haiti, that the Border Patrol was ordered to give these Haitians status in the United States. That means they're not going to be deported. They're going to be set free right here in America. The federal government knew that these individuals were coming here ahead of time. They absolutely failed to notify their partners at the local and the state level to help create this disaster. They took no preparatory actions for the well over 10,000 people that were coming up to Del Rio. The poor people in Del Rio have no groceries on the shelves at the grocery stores. And if you've ever been to Del Rio, it's an hour drive to get to another town to buy groceries. So they're short of essential supplies in the city of Del Rio for the people that actually live there, the American citizens. And those are the ones who are suffering.
Yes.
With a government that has abandoned us, a government that fails to do its duty in protecting the citizens that it is sworn to serve, no longer serves its purpose, and that's what's happening here.
Might I remind everyone out there, mostly Latino communities, Biden and the Democrat Socialist Party is screwing over mostly Latino communities in Texas to accommodate massive waves of illegal aliens. Mr. Cabrera, Democrat mayor of Del Rio, Bruno Lozano, tweeted that on the crisis in Texas, asking, where is the administration? While Biden was biking and Kamala, the border czar, was taking in a football game, the Latino Texas towns are being decimated over the weekend. Is the federal government giving the Border Patrol assets and the means to accomplish your mission?
Not at all. I mean, we've been fighting this battle for years on end, and now it's come to the point where we've been reduced to essentially Walmart greeters. We're standing on the riverbank telling people which way to go once they come into the country, instead of denying them the opportunity to come in. If they want to come in legally, that's great. They can do that at a port of entry, but crossing illegally through the river is not the way to do it. And I'm just dumbfounded by the fact that we're not stopping them from entering our country illegally.
Sheriff, as we stated, Biden is refusing to obey an order from the United States Supreme Court to reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy. Many in Texas and around the country are begging Texas the state with the largest border with Mexico, to step in and enforce the law where, in light of Biden's violation of the constitutional separation of powers, we're begging for some relief. Should Texas be doing more to safeguard not only the citizens of Texas, but as it turns out, the entirety of the United States, as Mr. Biden is checked out riding his little bike?
You're darn right we should be doing more. The state of Texas must take action to end this. I've been saying for quite some time, we have to shut down the ports of entry. I don't care what the federal government says. It's time to shut down the ports of entry, squeeze off the commerce. Texas is Mexico's #1 trade partner. It's time to bring them to their economic needs. It is the only way to get Mexico to actually stop the flow of immigrants on their side of the river. Once they get a beachhead here, it's only a matter of time before we've lost. And that's exactly what's happening. The state has to act or it's all over. I don't understand people wanting to go talk to their congressmen in Washington, D.C. or have conversations in Washington. It's an absolute waste of time. People need to be contacting the governor's office and the state legislators and telling them something has to be done. It has to be done now before it's all over. I have federal agents contacting me telling me that we are at the point of no return. Either the state takes care of it or it's all over, because this is it. This is all working wonderfully as designed by the Democrat Party.
It bears pointing out, folks, that people from around the globe do not have a right to come into the United States whenever the hell they want to. Mr. Cabrera, last question to you. With wide open borders, along with Mr. Biden now putting Afghanistan back in the radicalized Islamic fundamentalist terrorism business, how concerned are you that terrorists are going to be making their way through this wide open border?
No, I'm very concerned. I think, we don't know what's coming in, and we're seeing people just walking in how they see fit. But what we're not seeing, what nobody really knows, is how many are getting away, because the vast majority of our manpower is coming over to deal with these folks that we're coddling. Yet so many more people are getting away. No matter, it could be criminal aliens that are coming in. It could be drugs. Who knows what's coming in? I know we don't know what's coming in, and it's downright criminal for the administration to turn a blind eye to it. Not to mention the Border Patrol needs to step up the powers that be in the Border Patrol and just do the right thing and get us out there patrolling and do what we're designed to do, and that is patrol that border and stop people from crossing illegally.
And gentlemen, we didn't even get into the increased China virus cases along that southern border, impacting law enforcement and impacting citizens of these United States that Mr. Biden and his Democrats couldn't care less about. Sheriff Roy Boyd and Chris Cabrera, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the time. When we come back...
Love that music. That sheriff guy with the big old hat. You're darn right. What a stereotype, huh? For Jackie Cat. Oh, what now? Fuck. Can't any guy even have a fucking dab? Hello, caller.
Hello. We're talking about the crisis on the southern border, yes?
Sure. Why not?
I think that think about the impact of the climate crisis. And the vast majority of the world's populations live on the coast. Like, people are going to have to move somewhere. I think this is, in some ways, a dry run for what the future holds. There's gonna
It's
be
not the future; it's now, and you can see it actually happening in this country with U.S. citizens. You can see it happening, and it's going to, like you're saying, going to get a whole lot worse. Like where you can actually, like we'll start seeing news stories about people, U.S. citizens migrating, and it's somewhat terrifying. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you. That was we're we're in agreement here. I think it's absolutely. Florida, the bottom third of Florida is 18 inches above sea level. All of the Keys, bottom third. Everything from the lake down is barely above sea level.
Yeah, I lived there for a while.
Yeah. I used to live in the Keys. It was nice.
Nice.
Yeah, super nice. So what are you smoking, man? I'll tell you what. I got this Northern Lights number 2, a real OG strain, and it was just. I tried these pump cures this time. The pump jars to cure. Have you ever used one of these things?
No, is it like a vacuum thing or?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
No, I haven't tried that
Classy
before.
as fuck, kid.
Wow.
They do a really nice job. I mean, you buy your own mason jars, obviously you get the cap and the pump, but they just did an absolute fantastic job. Got it just right.
Sweet.
And man, I'm just high as hell. I was like, oh shit, Boxy's on. Let's see what we got.
Well,
what's going on here? Crisis on the southern border. You fucking bet your ass.
It seems to be
And
something.
Haitians. Go ahead. How the fuck did all those Haitians get to the southern border?
I keep asking myself, how did all these Haitians get into Mexico? I keep asking myself the same question. I don't know if like flights from Haiti are, really inexpensive, if they're like taking fishing boats. I don't know how it's happening, but I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, it's tens of thousands of people. I mean, it's not a small thing.
Right.
Presumably, if they were using, makeshift boats and shit like that, they would want to be, try to make the closest possible crossing.
Yeah.
And then walk. I mean,
especially with these last couple of huge hurricanes and stuff. So.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah, they would have been out walking in that, wouldn't they?
Well, they would have been out swimming in it, as far as I could tell.
Oh yeah, that's right. There would have been a window of opportunity, wouldn't there? Well, I just think I think it's tragic. I mean, I would point to the history of the United States in Haiti for one of the major causes of their. Nobody was hit harder by colonialism than Haiti because France forced them to buy their status. And Haitians are proud, and especially in those days, and so they agreed way back in the mid-19th century to pay a gigantic sum of money to France on an annual basis, at the end of which they would be independent, an independent state. Mm-hmm. And so the Haitians were doing this reliably, but it was a lot of their annual income for governance, but they were doing well, and then they started to fall behind, and that's when we got the Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, specifically around Haiti, Puerto Rico, and essentially what happened was the United States told the colonial powers with holdings in the Americas and the Caribbean that if they wanted to, if they were trying to enforce claim for something like an economic debt owed, that the United States would be the guarantor of that claim, and that then we'd go to Haiti and say, here's the deal. We gave you all this money, and we're going to come plant shit tons of sugarcane down here, and you just get to kind of control the government, the country. It's a complete open door policy for running trade deficit and exploitation. essentially denuded Haiti.
It's
you
not,
know, they clear cut it.
Yeah, and that's not something new for the U.S. government to do to countries. They are happy to come in and make a large monetary contribution in one way or another, and then say, and this is the way you can repay us.
Yeah, yeah, it's some straight up fucking mob shit. And in the case of Haiti, you know, all of the hurricanes, all of the cholera epidemics, you know, the environmental destruction of Haiti that was caused by that period of especially agricultural and like forestry exploitation is what's left the conditions for every natural disaster to be absolutely fucking terrible. Like because they clear cut Haiti, you know, every time there's a hurricane, tropical storm, strong rain, there's flooding everywhere, massive landslides, and so you know it's super shit here. I mean, they got fucked over by the French and they got fucked over by us, which is why I have empathy for people who have ridden a goddamn milk jug raft to Mexico and walked, presumably for several weeks at least, to the American border. It's like, well, Haiti fucking sucks. We all know that. You know, like Haiti's not good. I've been to DR, I've been to the Dominican Republic, and it's, you know, it's night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. Yeah,
well,
absolutely. Completely different.
I imagine both are beautiful, but I'm not attracted to going to those places. Dominican looks really awesome, but I just can't imagine going there. That being said, that's no reason to disregard them, and I have a lot of empathy for these people too. The way I see it is, people really aren't making this trek because, look, the U.S. borders are open. They're making it because they're desperate and they think maybe they can get across the U.S. border. So I have a lot of empathy for that too, and hopefully, I mean, what wouldn't any one of us do to feed our family, to keep our kids, our parents alive, like we would fucking do anything, we would do anything for that. So it's the old, moral dilemma of stealing medication from a pharmacy that you can't afford if your wife is sick and needs the medication. Like, it's a classic moral dilemma of the 20th century. And in the States, of course, it's absolutely a real thing. But so anyway, so that's my, that's my, and then of course you saw that the Senate parliamentarian just wrote off the bit of reconciliation regarding dreamers and the like, the undocumented folks. And so so now there's like the clock's ticking, if really the timeline's like if nothing happens on immigration by the end of 2022, who knows how many branches of government Republicans will hold control of at that point, and then it's just going to be more of the same, man. Just more of the same fucking bullshit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's in control. It's just going to be more of the same bullshit. We all know that. It's completely obvious. The only chance it happens is if the people of these United States actually take back control. Because right now, there's the only people in control are the super rich and foreign entities. Which I don't think the super rich or the foreign entities need to be represented by the government. And you know why the super rich don't need to be represented? I mean, it's obvious. Should be obvious why foreign entities don't need to be represented by the U.S. government. But you know why rich people don't? Because they already have every fucking thing they need. Okay? The U.S. government should be busy taking care of the working class. This should be all that matters to the U.S. government. And instead, we got to fucking pander to every fucking person who has, so much money. You know, that is the definition of corruption right there.
Well, and it's our ruin. You know, if we fuck up the ecosystem so that we can't live, or we can only live in a finite number of places because of, you know, Christ, the Gulf Stream's slowing down. Have you read about this?
What?
The Gulf Stream's slowing down.
Oh, I know. I haven't been reading about that.
So the Greenland ice shelf sits at the northern gyre of the Gulf Stream. And of course, this is what carries warm water and nutrients and air all the way up the east coast of the United States from the Caribbean, and and acts as a storm buffer. And so because it's returning right on the eastern side of the Atlantic, cold water and that sort of thing coming down, and so so it's slowing down, and this has been, you know, something that's been discussed for some time, is that the Greenland ice sheet melting faster than was predicted has resulted in the Gulf Stream slowing this year to a rate that they expected in about 50 years. And so that's bad news. You know, that's fucking bad news, kid. The Gulf Stream, I mean, people will feel it. It will be a harder winter in the Northeast this year.
Yeah, people are going to feel a lot of stuff here really fast. You know, it's I mean, I remember when I was a kid, right? And they would have tornadoes, right? And the tornadoes would be like, it's 200 yards in diameter, right? And then it was like, there's a big one. It's like a 1/4 mile in diameter, you know. And then like 7 or 8 years ago, I saw like there was a tornado that was 2 miles in diameter, which is becoming fairly common. And all I could think is, you know, what, do they have to get to 5 miles in diameter before it matters? Because it wasn't this way when I was a kid. And I'm telling you, they're going to get to a certain size where they're so big that they're not going to stop. And it's just fucked up that the supposed smartest living beings on the planet, who can make almost anything happen they can imagine, are not addressing this really basic thing. You know, it's kind of really, really fucked up.
Do you think we could nuke them?
No.
Could we nuke a tornado?
No. It's just going to be, all that's going to do is add heat. Heat is not going to help the situation.
Man, it'd look cool though, wouldn't it? Ooh!
It would look interesting, I bet.
Jetting all the way into space, some massive, you know, F-20 tornado of the future. Yeah, they're devastating and scary as hell. Scary as hell. I grew up in a tornado area, and I spent a tornado in a ditch, in a farm ditch, because I was riding my bike home.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was gonna rain, but it didn't look bad.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it was just like
Wizard of Oz.
It actually, the clouds started rolling like a wave on the side.
Yeah.
And then it turned upright and put out this wispy tail you could barely see. And as soon as it touched the ground, then it was just like, I started pulling up dirt and shit, and it was like, now I'm like, oh my god, that's a motherfucking tornado. Got off my bike and laid in this farm ditch.
Yeah.
I was like, oh fuck, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, it didn't come over by me, but it was windy as fuck. Obviously, I mean, it was.
I mean, when
maybe
you're
a mile away.
When you're a kid, that's some serious Wizard of Oz shit right there, man.
Bro, I mean, I watched a tornado form from nothing. It was so cool.
Yeah.
But it was legit. It was legit high stress at the time. Obviously, you know, it's probably like 9 or 10 years old. It's like, oh my God. But we had a lot of tornadoes, so you knew what to do.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
wasn't
Like,
something new.
No, don't park under the bridge on the interstate, for instance. But now, no tornadoes in my life, so it makes me happy.
Right on. Well, that's that's one of the things I could never understand is people living in Chicago. It's just like 17 below zero there. Before the wind chill factor, and I'm like, no. Yeah, I can never understand why anybody lives there. Honestly,
I lived in Chicago for 2 years, and I hated it. I got so many fucking parking tickets, and it's such fucking parking's bullshit.
yeah.
It's like it cost me $6,000 the first year I lived there in fucking parking violations, man.
Yeah.
And I read the goddamn signs because it was costing me money.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? And then I found out what the whole fucking deal was that they had sold the city parking concession to this Diamond Parking, this private outfit. And basically that just made it really hard. So if they wrote you a ticket for a parking violation, you had to actually show up in person to contest it. And they just fucking put them on. They would just go and fucking hit everybody's cars. And you were just getting taxed basically for nothing by this Diamond concession because you weren't going to take a day and go, sit in fucking municipal court to,
nobody's going to do that.
To try to get this. Yeah, you end up fucking, most people would end up losing money on that deal. And so so you just ended up paying these tickets, and the pain in the ass was if you got one, like let's say they love to give them out during snowstorms, which to me was the most evil thing.
Yeah.
And
because those people should have better things to do during snowstorms than hand out fucking parking tickets.
Fucking drink brandy, bro. Do whatever, man.
Well,
like,
take care of fucking people's safety. Take care of people's safety. That's what you should be doing.
But they're not there for that. They're there to make money for Diamond Parking.
Have fucking priorities, man.
I know. They're fucking bullshit. And so I just hated it. And
I just couldn't deal with the weather. That's all I'm saying.
Everywhere.
You're talking about tornadoes and not having to deal with tornadoes anymore. All I'm saying is I don't understand why people live where there's tornadoes and shit like that. I don't know but I always tell people we have the best weather in the world here, so I'm pretty lucky as far as that goes.
Yeah, we do seasonal now. We go to Mexico for the winter, which is the nice way to do it, I think. At least for us, we have friends who go, so we get we rent a place with 2 other couples, and
yeah, that sounds awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's nice. It's inexpensive, lucky to be able to. We all are able to work from home.
Yeah.
And which everybody should be able to do that can.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, especially during the middle of a plague. I can't believe that they're making people come back to the office in the middle of the plague, and you have to get vaccinated. It's bullshit. So, and I can't believe that they're sending children back to school in the middle of a fucking plague when they're talking about how the highest rate of infection right now is kids from fucking 5 to 12. What the fuck are you doing? Hey, I gotta go. I gotta take a bong hit for Wilco before he disappears.
Stay frosty.
All right, bro.
Be well.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, good talking. Bye-bye.
All right, so I'm going to play a quick video here while I heat up the bong in order to do Dab and Wilco's honor because it's been a while since he has showed up in the chat, and it's really nice to see him again. So I have a video here about Proud Boys protest and vaccine protest in, I believe it's in Olympia, and which is our state capital. And you can just hear, and the announcers, the the newsreaders, the prostitute's voice. You know, oh, these people are so dangerous. You know, protesters, I'm telling you, you can't point a finger at American protesters and say those people are the problem. If you do, you're part of the problem. Because they're Americans and they need to be able to have the right to go into the street and talk about how fucked up their government is. And if they're just going into the street and talking about how this group is fucked up and that group is fucked up, and you're part of the problem. You're buying into the propaganda, this fucking programming of fear and division. Clearly, you're buying into that. And I know that you're all smarter than that. So I'm going to play this video about Proud Boys protest and mandated vaccine protest. So this is a short clip. I'm just going to heat up the bong and we're going to do a fat dab in Woolco's honor. So be right back.
A sign of relief in Olympia tonight after 2 demonstrations protesting the state's vaccine mandate remained peaceful. There were concerns over potential violence after several clashes turned violent, including a shooting just 2 weeks ago.
KOMO's Nick Popham with the concerns that has city leaders and locals on high alert today.
Lori Johnson owns Courtyard Antique Mall right in the heart of downtown Olympia and got the notice from the city letting her know something was going to be going down outside City Hall today.
Just kind of always hope for the best because you just never know after the past year we've had.
Because it wasn't too long ago that there was a shooting at the inner city transit station in Olympia after police said members of the Proud Boys were pursuing people allied with Antifa and a fight broke out. We've been tracking the preparations this week to see if the city was well equipped to handle any potential violence today. Outside Olympia City Hall, about 30 or so Proud Boy members and supporters came together for a protest with no opposing side to go against them. All while police were standing in the wings should something escalate. For Johnson, she's happy things didn't get to a point where law enforcement had to get involved.
The less activity that we have, the better it is for us.
Down the street, a couple hundred folks were protesting outside the state capitol, but this one was focused on opposing any sort of vaccine mandate to help limit the spread of COVID-19.
I don't believe that we should be forced into any medical treatment.
Only a handful of people there were wearing masks while standing on the side of the road, waving signs and hearing from the cars who support their cause. Despite what happened with that shooting at the transit center, there wasn't much of a police presence at this demonstration, but like the other protest, things remained rather calm. And business owners like Johnson hope it stays that way.
It's just really important that it's peaceful and that nobody, everybody respects everybody, and yeah, and it's been a safe time for people to be downtown.
Johnson hopes that seeing protests that don't escalate in downtown Olympia will incentivize more folks to come downtown to shop at some of these businesses. In Olympia, Nick Popham, KOMO News.
Glad that all ended peacefully. Nick, thanks very much. All right.
I love that last rip. I should have let it go a little bit longer. It reminds me of Motorhead so much. I just see all these people as being vilified again, and you have to recognize this. This is the big part of it. Those people are the bad people. Those people are the problem. The people that aren't vaccinated, they're the problem. We keep hearing this again and again and again. That at this point, the plague is entirely the fault of the people that are non-vaccinated, right? I mean, that's what I keep hearing, and it's all a bunch of bullshit. This one is for Woolco. So let's do that now, Woolco. It's so nice to hear from you. Hey, turn off your fucking sound, man.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Michael? Michael from Mox News, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, anyway, it's Adam from Arizona.
Hey, Adam.
I figured. Howard, I'm sorry to hear about your dog, man. I saw your little post yesterday, and yeah, that's too bad.
She was my beautiful baby.
I know, man. I I like animals most of the time more than I like people, and I used to have a dog that lived to be 18, and there's some very valued family members.
Well, if you do it right, they definitely increase your quality of life.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk on your topic, what should be done about the border crisis, being how I'm from Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to have I moved further north because the neighborhood that I was in had actually a bad problem with illegals. They used to get about maybe 2 a week. But the problem is they come in your yard when there's a no trespassing sign, usually in the middle of the night, tapping at your window asking for water, which that's not too bad, but it's pretty scary if it's in the middle of the night and you do have no trespassing signs. And, I personally haven't had any real bad situations, but I do have a friend of mine that picked up a couple of illegals and they beat him to death with his tools and dropped his body off here in Tucson and dropped his truck off in Phoenix. And,
well, look. It doesn't have to be immigrants that do that. This happens every day in community, across community, across community. And most of the time, many times it's drug addicts. Many times it's, just a husband and wife. People fucking, this is one of the things that happens. So we don't want to blame, immigrants for, some kind of an attack on someone, right?
No, there could be really good immigrants. The problem is you get these people that come up here because a lot of the crime further south of the border is ignored, and they come up here. I don't want to really call them cartel or they could be street gangs from down there, and a lot of them have a lot of resources, and they get together with the certain gangs in the area, and they form alliances, and it empowers a lot of the local gangs to become more violent, bring in more drugs, recruit more people. Turns into a runaway situation, and it gets to the point, some neighborhoods, the cops will. And
it's all
it's very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it's all corrupt. The police are corrupt, and it's a matter of who has the money, and we all know this.
Well, the people south of the border, see, it gets past the point that it would here because the people south of the border aren't allowed to own firearms to protect themselves. So it does get more violent, so they do flee north.
Yeah.
And the problem is most of these people fleeing north, they can't get past that border without the cartel knowing. And the cartel, they have to pay the dues to whatever local gang or cartel in the area.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, when they don't have enough money, they get the addresses of the family members to where they're going. And it's a type of indentured servitude. They're owed that money one way or another, whether it's through favors. And you have a situation here to where if your boss says something from down south and you refuse to do it, well, they have your family member's address. And there's a lot of really bad things that go along with illegal immigration that I've witnessed firsthand living where I live.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things that people can't even imagine. I agree.
Now, here's another point of reference. Like I probably would say some of my friends believe different than me, and they think that
like most of the people, homeless people here, deserve our resources more than the people down south. And if you were to go down there to their country trying to get as much free stuff as we've given them, they would put people like us last in line to get any free stuff.
Right, but you don't want the people coming here and being desperate and having to commit crimes just to get food and feed their family and shelter and such. So you want them to be able.
The thing is right now they don't have to get a vaccination shot.
Right, yeah. I have a problem with that
the way
too.
They're bullying all these American people into getting a vaccination shot. Right now, some of these illegal immigrants have more rights than us Americans, and that isn't fair.
Right, I mean, if they can come across the border without proper ID, and they can come across the border and not be vaccinated or not be tested
and get a job.
Yeah, it's it's not. I can't go across the border without proof of vaccination. So.
I mean, what should be good for the goose should be good for the gander, and
it's not even that. It's not. This is only fair if you're going to do it to me. You got to do it to me. It's that this is a matter of if we believe what it is they're telling us, we're in the middle of this deadly plague, and this is a matter of life and death. It's not just turn around, it's fair play. No, this is a matter of life and death, and they're acting like it's not important at all. So there's something strange going on there.
I don't go. See, there's a place called Rocky Point in Mexico, and it's one of my favorite places to go. It has a beautiful beach and everything. And right now, during this pandemic, I ain't going down there. And the reason it's a pandemic is all the more reason for them not to come up here right now at this time. And, they should say, hey, we should respect other countries' sovereignty during this pandemic until it's over.
Well, it's not just a matter of respecting the other country's sovereignty. It's a matter of, it would be incredibly dangerous in the middle of a plague to pass through all these territories and be amongst all these strangers coming from, the dregs of life, So it's not just a matter of it being I don't know, it's incredibly dangerous, in this time of plague is what I'm saying. So
my grandparents immigrated here, and my grandparents and their parents pretty much had to stay on Ellis Island to make sure that they didn't have any diseases, and I guess wait for some kind of background check before they could come over here to indoctrinate my family into the American culture. And I believe when they come across right now during the middle of the pandemic, it's just like if I went over there during the middle of the pandemic and snuck across their border, I'd get in trouble and sent home. And right now, they shouldn't be rushing over here. And I used to be more pro-immigration before I did move down south into a neighborhood where I saw firsthand of what immigration brings.
Yeah.
Some of the best people I know that I've met speak little English, and I love the heck out of other cultures. But right now we have problems in this country and enough homeless that we need to spend our money on and our resources on. Because if we keep allowing these people in, sooner or later, we ain't going to have anything left for our own.
All right. Listen, I got to take a break. So thanks a bunch for calling. It's good to hear from you.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
So, look, as far as, needing to make sure we have enough for our own, and, I think the problem isn't that we don't have enough for our own, it's that we spend all of our resources on bullshit wars that apparently accomplish absolutely nothing unless you're wanting to make a bunch of terrorists around the world in order to be able to fight a war on terror for the next, I don't know, century, new American century. I'm sorry. Again, the resources that we have, we really do have somewhat infinite resources. It's just that they're being spent in this imaginary way where, now we have to take our military into space. There'll never be enough money. We just need more and more money for the military. Fuck the goddamn Pentagon. Okay? The Pentagon is full of bullshit artists that are stuffing their pockets with dark money and all need to go to fucking prison forever for committing treason against this country. Now, and if we were to do that, there'd be plenty of money. Plenty of resources to make all these things happen in the world. Like I said, we could go to Afghanistan and say, how can we help? Let's start by moving in, thousands of tractors so that you have equipment to make food. And let's figure out where we can get water resources so we can spread it out throughout your entire country. And what can we do to make it a better place? And that's just not what happens. We wait until things get bad and then we move in and act like, we're the great liberators. Everybody knows that's not the truth, except for, I suppose, a small percentage of the American population. I hope it's a small percentage. So we have plenty of money. We could be doing plenty of things. My whole point is not that we don't want to be spending our precious resources on these people. My whole point is that, it's only fair that I have to get a vaccination if I want to go across the border. That's not my point. My point is that if we are in the middle of this deadly plague, then there should be some kind of consistency to how we deal with this deadly plague, and I see a lot of inconsistencies, and I see a lot of things to question, what is it that's being made happen here? Because if we're in the middle of this deadly plague, and these people, our government is sending immigrants out to all corners of our nation, which is the way our nation should be, except for possibly in the time of a deadly plague, which still we should be taking in immigrants, but there should be a process in which we know that they're safe, that we're not going to send them off to this town and somehow that's going to make a COVID outbreak. Right? Because it's a deadly plague that we're in the middle. I mean, this is basic logic. And then, as I've said for the last 20 years, since September 11, 2001, I've said, if we're in this war on terror, where, after September 11th, for those of you who don't remember, it was terrorist. This is what the news was. This is what the Republican National Convention was. This is what the Democratic National Convention was. Terrorist. I remember there was a video made of Rudy Giuliani and his speech to the Republican National Convention, and the video went this way: terrorist, and it was. He said terrorist like 100 times during his speech to the Republican National Convention right after September 11th, right? So my question has been for the last 20 years. How come, 4-year-old girls are able to walk across the border completely undetected when there's terrorists everywhere and they're coming to get us? Well, why aren't you doing anything about it, right? Oh, the deadly plague is coming. It's going to get your children. Oh, well, let's just let all these people in from whatever foreign country and send them all over the place without any kind of quarantine or vaccine or test. It doesn't add up, right? War on terror, 4-year-old girls walking across the border completely undetected. If a 4-year-old girl can do it, how many hundreds, if not thousands, of terrorists everywhere coming to get us all? How could they not be charging across the southern border for the last 20 years? Right? So, and if that's what's been happening, then maybe the war on terror is complete and utter bullshit. And there really isn't terrorists everywhere waiting to get us, which is why they have to create the domestic terrorists. It's everywhere. There's domestic terrorists everywhere. And not only that, they went overseas to Afghanistan, a hotbed, a hornet's nest, so to speak, of terrorist training grounds. They went over there and they kicked the fuck out of that hornet's nest. So if you don't think that they're going to be, let's say, creating terrorists for the next 20, 40 years, just in retribution, just children who want to get revenge for what was done to their families. Understand? And that's the only reason to do a war like this, to go into Iraq and lie, to take us into Iraq, complete and utter lies fabricated in the White House, in the Pentagon. Everybody talked about, General Milley, Smiley, whatever the fuck his name is, treasonous. Yeah, he's fucking, the whole Pentagon is fucking treasonous. They lied us into war in Iraq, costing this country trillions of dollars. How can no one talk about that? Right? Oh, we have to look forward. Fuck that. The Pentagon is full of shit. The Pentagon murdered 1 million innocent Iraqis based on lies. In your name, with your tax dollars. Okay? And no one pays a price. And no one in Congress questions what should be done about this. Because Congress is in on it too. This is why I say they all have to go to prison, okay? Because they're not actually leading. They're not actually, they have the loudest microphones in the country, if not some of the loudest microphones in the world, and they're not using them to call out the tyranny. They're not using them to call out the lies that have cost us trillions of dollars and thousands of our own people's lives. How many soldiers commit suicide every single day? Over 20, from what I understand, every single day. And this is because what they dealt with, was impossible to live with now. And my dad was like that. He pretty much drank himself to death, But lots of these people are, eating a bullet, taking a bunch of pills. It's really, really horrible. And it's all the Pentagon to blame. All the White House to blame. And they do it in our name. Our people, our soldiers deserve better than this. People who aren't soldiers, our citizens, deserve better than this, than the name of the good people of these United States to be drugged through the swamp of war criminals and mercenaries. That's what our country has become. And no one in the Congress, tax the rich. No, fucking care about what you're doing. Care about what's been done. care about if we're going to change from being these people who lie into war, then people have to be held accountable for lying us into war based, on complete and utter bullshit fabricated by the White House, fabricated by the Pentagon, passed on to us by a bullshit media, which just beat the drums of war as loud as they possibly could, costing us trillions of dollars and thousands of lives. And no one in Congress cares. They don't give a fuck. And so this is why, again, I say they all have to go to prison in order to make examples of them, so that the people who come after them won't act as if they can get away with whatever, acting as if, there's no accountability whatsoever, because we want to make it clear that not only are these war criminals who led us into wars based on lies are going off to Guantanamo for the rest of their lives. Everybody else is going to get a 20-year sentence. All of your assets are going to be seized. Your families will live destitute and in shame for the rest of their lives because you are scum. And I think that that's what we have to do. And of course, if you say this, if you speak out, if you act as if you understand that the people must stand up against this government, that the people of these great United States have been given the power to stand up and to take our government back or flush it down the fucking toilet if that's what's necessary. And from what I understand, the people who recognize these rights as the top of the food chain, as the big-brained, upright walking, opposable thumb beings that we are. They didn't give us these rights. They recognized these rights, that we have the right to stand up and put down an over-intrusive, tyrannical government that no longer represents the people in any way, shape, or form. But it will never happen because you're too busy pointing fingers at each other. And this is the thing that they see the most threatening, is the people coming together. These are the voices that are the most dangerous. It's not the one saying, oh, those people are the problem. Oh, those people, fucking Democrats, fucking Republicans. No. If you're saying that, fucking boomers, fucking those people, then you're part of the problem. Then you're keeping us from reaching the solution. You're spreading poison when we need to be spreading friendship and care and reaching out to try and figure out how we fix this, because we know that our so-called representative government is never going to fix it. And you know why? Because it works really well for the people at the top, and that's all that matters in this country. I am going to play a video and go heat up my tea, and I will be back momentarily, and hopefully we'll have a phone caller. Otherwise, I have another video to play, so don't go away. This is about, what do we have here? I have a video. Oh, I have a very interesting video about the Russia probe that happened to Donald Trump when he was saying, it's involved in this nefarious Russian dealings. It turns out that, Clinton and the Clinton campaign was deeply involved in slanting the information that came from that probe, as after numerous members of the Clinton campaign has testified that they had nothing to do with slanting the information. Under oath they testified, and hopefully, which we never do, again, we'll see some kind of justice from this. I would not hold your breath, because there is never the slightest bit of justice when it comes to the Clintons or really anyone in our completely corrupt U.S. government. And we all know that. I'll be right back. I got to heat up my tea.
Now to a developing story. And digging into the John Durham indictment Friday is turning up some familiar names, including one with President Biden's trust and access to all of our country's top secrets. The indictment targets former Clinton campaign attorney Michael Sussman for lying to the FBI. But over dozens of pages, the indictment describes a political plot to falsely link then-candidate Trump with Russia. According to the indictment, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is among those who pushed the fake story, a made-up narrative that ballooned into an investigation that consumed Congress, blew through millions of taxpayer dollars, and perhaps permanently altered the country's politics. Jonathan Turley is out with an op-ed breaking down the damning indictment and the alleged dirty tricks at play. We'll get to him right after Chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel sets the stage for us. Mike?
John, good afternoon. Days before Election Day 2016, then Clinton campaign senior policy advisor Jake Sullivan issued a statement saying, quote, "This could be the most direct link yet between Donald Trump and Moscow." Computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert server linking the Trump organization to a Russian-based bank. Sullivan is, of course, now President Biden's national security advisor. In December 2017, Sullivan was asked by the House Intelligence Committee if he had any information that candidate Trump colluded, coordinated, or otherwise conspired with the Russians to hack or disseminate emails. Sullivan responded, quote, I think there is ample evidence at this point in the public record of collusion, coordination, and conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russians. One expert says this indictment of Michael Sussman exposes a type of Nixonian dirty tricks operation run by, or at least billed to, the 2016 Clinton campaign. In this case, it was the spreading Russia collusion stories triggering an investigation. But much of the narrative came from a now discredited dossier compiled by former British spy Christopher Steele.
Christopher Steele, he's being sued in England for libel, Alpha Bank, for things he put in the Steele dossier about Alpha Bank. Steele testified in the British proceeding that it was Sussman who gave him the information about Alpha Bank that he then pressed on the FBI.
It's not clear where it goes from here, if more indictments are possible, and when Durham is done with his probe, assuming a report is issued, if the Biden Justice Department will make those findings public. John?
You know, it was believed at the very beginning that maybe Durham got a small fish instead of a big fish, but, you know, small fish go up the food chain. So
that's right.
We'll
Follow the trail.
Goes. Yep. Mike, good to see you.
Thanks, John.
Let's bring in Jonathan Turley now, George Washington University law professor, constitutional law expert, and a Fox News contributor. So to your mind, Jonathan, you got a great op-ed today as well. Does this directly implicate the Hillary Clinton campaign in the genesis of the Russia investigation?
Oh, it says so directly. This indictment really filled in a lot of blanks. We only learned recently, last October, that the head of intelligence for President Obama briefed him that they had a report that Hillary Clinton was going to create a Russian collusion claim to take away from the email scandal. And that was only confirmed last October. We've learned a lot since then, particularly in this indictment, that you had the Steele dossier, which American intelligence believed was being used by Russian intelligence to spread disinformation, and that his main source, they believed, was a Russian agent. But then you had this Alpha Bank side, which we didn't know a lot about, and that involves Sussman. Both of these sides involve two partners at a firm called Perkins Coie, where the general counsel of the campaign, Mark Elias, was located. What we've learned in this indictment is that the Clinton people were told that this was falling apart, that there was virtually nothing here to establish this bizarre claim of a communications channel through this bank to the Kremlin. And one of their researchers said, I'm not sure you want to get this out in public because they'll learn all of the tricks in our bag, which was a really telling statement because of this sort of Nixonian look to all of this.
So just to quickly sum this up, because it is pretty complicated for people who haven't followed it closely. Sussman went to the FBI's general counsel and presented to the general counsel 3 white papers alleging to show evidence of this connection between the Trump camp or the Trump organization and Alpha Bank. He told the FBI general counsel, hey, I'm just doing this as a good Samaritan, want you to know about it. I'm not doing it on behalf of a client. Whereas, in fact, he was doing it on behalf of 3 clients, one of which, according to the indictment, was the Clinton campaign.
That's right, John. And one of the interesting aspects is that Mark Elias was accused of hiding the connection to the Clinton campaign. The Clinton campaign denied that it had any funding or association with the Steele dossier throughout the campaign. Later, it admitted that that was untrue, that it was funded through this law firm. And we also now find out that Sussman on this side was also hiding that connection, neither of which came out before the election itself.
And according to the indictment, Sussman actually billed the Clinton campaign for the meeting he had with the FBI general counsel. Now, what about the Jake Sullivan connection here? Because he was pushing the Alpha Bank conspiracy. In a Hillary campaign statement under his name, he said, this could be the most direct link yet between Donald Trump and Moscow. Computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert server linking the Trump organization to a Russian-based bank. The secret hotline may be the key to unlocking the mystery of Trump's ties to Russia. Now, if he was just reading the news reports and put that out, that's one thing. But if this guy was working for the campaign and he knew about it when he was working for the campaign and didn't just happen to read it, that's something else.
Yeah, it's pretty darn shocking. When you look at the dates laid out by John Durham, you have all these people warning, we don't really have any support for this. And they're saying, look, we just need enough for a good narrative. They get it to the FBI, they get it through an accommodating reporter to publish it, and then right out of the gates, Hillary Clinton herself says, well, they just found this connection. And then Jake Sullivan said, yeah, this is pretty strong stuff. It's unnerving that he's now in charge of looking at intelligence reports and telling President Biden what seems to be good intelligence. This was the ultimate of conspiracy theories. I mean, this was a real tinfoil hat type of conspiracy theory.
Well, I'm sure Durham's going to keep pulling on the wool, and we'll see where it leads and uncovers. Jonathan Turley, always great to see you, my friend. Thanks for dropping by today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Sandra?
I thought that was a kind of an interesting story, so I wanted to share it with you. It's a little bit long, but what the heck? What else do you gotta do? All right, so I have a couple more videos left. The telephone number's up there on the screen if anybody wants to call. Actually, I only have one video left I'm going to play, I think, which is about the volcano that's going off. Because I find that interesting and possibly important. I've seen a lot of volcanoes going off. It seems like a lot more than I remember going off in such a period of time. I could be wrong, but it seems like a lot of volcano activity, all in a short time frame. So, find that very interesting. Let's see, where were we at? Right. So, again, my thoughts on immigration are: if we're in a time of a deadly plague, then we should act like we're in the time of a deadly plague and make sure that the people that are coming across the border are safe for all of us, right? If we're in a time of a war on terror, then we should make sure the people that are coming across the border are safe for all of us. Hello, caller.
You have a collect call from inmate Ron Jeremy. To accept, please press 1.
Ron Jeremy's not in jail.
Yes, he is.
I'm friends with Ron Jeremy. I know that he's not in jail.
Yes, he is. God damn it, you're trying to blow my cover. Okay, I actually was in jail, but I've been reaching out to a bunch of news outlets, trying to fucking, break the news on exactly what happened with my case. And nobody really knows this, but I got caught banging Meghan Markle and Caitlyn Jenner at the same time.
I thought you were going to say Meghan Markle and Prince Harry at the same time.
No, Meghan Markle and fucking Caitlyn Jenner. I got caught banging both of them at the same fucking time. Prince Harry is pissed off at me. He's not liking this. I mean, I told him that, or I told both of them he can join, but they were like, no, just hush hush. And then they filmed it, and it got fucking into Prince Harry's hands, and he's pissed. He's pissed. So it looks like I'm going to be going to jail for life.
For banging some
So,
girl?
I mean, I'm just trying to get my story out there.
Okay. Well,
You know, but it was worth it.
I guess lucky you.
I know. Tell you what, round of high fives. All right, just spread the word.
Okay. Thanks for calling. Good to hear from you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Ron Jeremy is not in jail, so you know. All right, so where were we? Right, immigration, time of plague, immigration, time on terror, war on terror. And I've been talking about the immigration and the war on terror for the last 20 years. Now, we're at the time of a deadly plague. The reason I talked about the immigration for the last 20 years is because people have been pouring across the border completely undetected, completely unidentified, and we're supposed to be in this giant war on terror in which the terrorists are going to kill us all, and nothing seemed to be being done about it, right? And then all of a sudden now we're in this deadly plague, which is going to kill us all, and immigrants are apparently pouring across the border. And again, there doesn't seem to be, from what I understand, a whole lot of concern as to whether, you know, what vaccines they might have had. And I think that this is, it doesn't add up. Just like with the war on terror, it didn't make sense that people were coming across the border undetected. It now doesn't make sense that people are coming across the border the way they are. Hello, caller.
Michael,
Yes.
Ron Jeremy's in jail
Uh-huh.
for raping bitches.
Uh-huh.
You're sitting in front of a computer, funny guy. Why don't
Uh-huh.
you fucking look it up?
Why is this important to you, funny guy?
It's not important to me.
It seems to be. It seems to be. You
You
got up off your fucking dead ass and made a phone call to let me know that Ron Jeremy's in jail because somehow that's fucking important to you.
He's your good buddy, but you don't know that he's in jail?
You don't know stick?
What do you mean I don't know Dick?
Yeah. Look.
He's your good
Obviously,
buddy,
this is important to you, and
No, he's your good friend. The rapist.
I didn't say he's my
And
good
he's
friend.
Well, what'd you just say?
I said he's a friend of mine. I said he's a friend of mine.
What?
I said he's a friend of mine. A good friend is someone you go out with on a regular basis. Or
Okay, okay. He's an associate of yours.
Uh-huh.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. All right, Michael. Have a good night, fruitcake.
Uh-huh. Well, it's not me that's calling names. It's not me that's calling your live stream to let you know about Ron Jeremy. And it's really not important to me. It's like, this Gabby Papetto. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name. I can't watch those stories. But this seems to be at the top of the news. This missing person, female, and all of a sudden they found her body today. And the thing is, and it's at the top of everybody's news. And and people are talking about it, and they're talking to me about it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, It's this, and I tell them this is murder porn. Okay, this is the only reason this is a story is because the female is very, very attractive. If it was some fucking ugly guy, they wouldn't be like, oh, look at this horrible story. It wouldn't even be a story. No one would know about it because it's this girl, wearing short shorts. Oh, look at what we got. It's called murder porn. Okay, murder porn is oh look, there's this sexy element involved, and people get sucked into it, and South Park made a fucking episode about it, and I don't know what the title was. It was like, how do you feed a horse in Minecraft? I think that was what it was, something like that. Which is brilliant again, but they talked about this murder porn shit and how it gets up in your head, and it's really weird that people want to talk about it, because to me, I don't give a fuck. That's not news. That's some personal thing where, you know, the only reason that they're covering it is because the girl is hot. And for those of you who can't see it, it's mind-blowing to me. I mean, it's just not national news. At the time of a deadly plague, which we can never talk about anything but the deadly plague, because we're all going to die. Right? Volcano video. I'm going to play the volcano video, and I will be back momentarily. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Well, we go now to the Spanish island of La Palma, part of the Canary Islands, where more than 5,000 people have had to flee their homes after a volcano erupted on Sunday. It's the first time in half a century that the volcano has erupted. The BBC's Dan Johnson is in La Palma with more.
Homes that once enjoyed views of this island's impressive volcanic landscape are now being smothered under it. The relentless downhill creep of molten lava burns its way through anything it touches. The eruption follows a week of tremors, but nobody's seen anything like this on La Palma for half a century.
Mira, mira, mira cómo cae.
Look, it's falling, the man says. Another house destroyed. That's more than 100 now, either burned or buried.
Ahí hay 8 metros, de lava.
8 meters of lava, he says.
Nobody can stop this lava and nothing can control where it goes. These are the strongest forces of nature at work in a spectacular but destructive display, and the only option is to get out of its way.
Lo más importante es garantizar la seguridad.
Right now, the most important thing is to guarantee security. We are still in the eruption phase. Please, let's be extremely careful.
So residents of 4 villages have been ordered to safety, and some tourists have decided to go home.
I'm worried, or I'm sorry for all the people that are losing or already have lost their houses.
We have no good feeling now on this island, and therefore we want to leave so fast as possible.
This is a disaster movie in slow motion. The lava keeps crawling towards the sea. Spain's tourism minister sees an opportunity, a chance to entice tourists back to view the eruption from a safe distance, because nobody knows how long this will last.
And Dan joins us now live from La Palma. Dan, were there any warnings that this volcano was going to erupt?
Yeah, there were some warnings because small earth tremors had been detected here more than 20,000 times in the last 8 days. So that was a warning that things were brewing under the hillsides here, but they haven't seen any eruptions here for 50 years. So this has come as a huge surprise. You can see how forceful the magma is there, flying up into the air, the lava that is bursting into the sky and then flowing right down the mountainside. You can't see it from here, but just over the hill, we've seen how it flows right down the mountains, through some homes, through some villages. It's trying to find its way to the sea. When it gets there, it will drop into the sea, it will cool off. But how much it destroys on its way down is what everyone here on La Palma is now waiting to see.
And Dan, what are people saying to you about this extraordinary event?
Yeah, well, it's obviously caused fear for the people who live on this part of the island. And it's worth saying, this is only one of a number of fissures that is erupting. So there are various lava streams that are causing issues in different parts here in the south of the island. Fear for those residents and for some tourists who've been moved away from hotels here and decided to go home. But there are also people coming here to take a look, and there's a huge job for the police and for the fire service here, who are very active in this area tonight, trying to keep people back, trying to keep them safe. And after Spain's tourism minister suggested that this could be something that might bring tourists back to the island, I think the local authorities will probably be putting out a message to say, please don't. Stay away, stay safe, because this could carry on erupting for days, weeks, possibly months.
Dan Johnson live in La Palma. Dramatic scenes. Thank you.
I thought that was very interesting. I think that would be that would be kind of exciting to be on an island that was had, you know, a volcano erupting and shooting lava out into the sky. I think that would be exciting. I think it would, you know, kind of be the thing that you would be exciting for a couple days, and you'd be like, okay, let's find something else to do. But it would be interesting, and I thought some of you might find it interesting. So I have one more video about the border. It's a short video. I can play it for you momentarily. I made a video last night about my girl, Sammy. She just passed away. And I was talking about, I remembered a story that I wanted to share. And I was talking about how before we got her, she was an escape artist. And if you open the door 6 inches, she'd be out the door. And how it became like a joke once she moved into our house. You know, Craig was worried that she was going to run away and get hit by a car or something. But once she moved into I told Craig, as soon as she learns the word cheeseburger, she's not going anywhere, right? So, and she didn't. She was like, home. So it became a joke. Like, I would leave the front door open, and I'd be like, aren't you going to run away, girl? Now's your chance. I walk away from the door, and she'd look out the door, and then she'd turn around and walk away. And then one day, a friend who we don't see very often came to the house, and he lives about 50 miles away out in the country. He's got a really cool looking house. It's like a dome, and it's just like covered in moss, so it looks like it's just kind of part of the background scenery. And there's a little pond there and stuff. It's very cool. I digress. He came over one day, and I opened the door, and the dogs were like right there, because like I said, you know, when you open the door, the dog's like, who's here? Hi. Right, so you open the door, and the dogs are right there. And I remember him like crouching down and spreading his arms out. And he's like, whoa. And I was like, what's up? And he's like, don't your dogs run away? I started laughing my ass off. Where would they go? There's nowhere better than here. They're not going somewhere else. They go out there. They know where their cheeseburgers come from. But I always thought that was funny. So I wanted to share it. Don't your dogs run away? Where are they going to run to? So I am going to play this one last video. If you want to call, this is going to be your last chance. It is a short video. The telephone number is right there on the screen. It's 805-669-6397, 805 Mox News. I'm going to play this video about the crisis on the border, and I'll be right back, and we'll see if we have any callers. Otherwise, you know, I'm good.
Your journey will not succeed. Others say for some, the journey has already been worth it.
But as we speak right now, the majority are families and unaccompanied minors, and the large chunk of them are being released in the United States.
Former Acting Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection Mark Morgan says this dichotomy of rhetoric and reality not lining up is at the heart of the problem at the southern border, blaming the Biden administration policy earlier this year, which granted temporary protective status to Haitians already in the country, even though those who arrived after July 29th were supposed to be excluded.
The cartels, smugglers, they take that, they exploit it, they'll twist it around to convince Haitians that are not in the country that just get to the border, get in the United States, it'll apply to you as well.
Democrats had hoped to address multiple issues related to immigration in their $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, but that aspect had to be removed because it violated Senate rules. So, with the current situation at the southern border, one key question is emerging. What's the plan now?
We cannot wait any longer to fix America's broken immigration system.
Senator Dick Durbin tweeting Democrats have prepared an alternative proposal. Republican governors, meanwhile, demanding a meeting with President Biden, writing his policies have created an international humanitarian crisis. As top officials say, more than 200 miles of border in the Del Rio region have been left unsecured. All available agents taken off the line to process those under this bridge, with new questions about the security today and the future for those already here. I'm Christine Frizzell, Como News.
Let's see. So we didn't get any phone callers, and I guess it's the end of the show, or we're very close to the end of the show. I think that this border crisis is probably a very, very important thing. That the discussion is not framed right. You know, I mean, it's this, like I said, it's this fairness, you know, it's like, oh, well, I have to get a vaccine to go across the border. It's really not that. The truth is that we're in this time of a deadly plague, right? We keep being told that, and so people coming across the border, it's a matter of life and death. You know, I mean, the deadly plague is a matter of life and death. The war on terror is a matter of life and death. And, you know, logically, I don't see the powers that be acting like that. And that means something's wrong. Something doesn't add up. And hopefully together we'll be able to figure that out. That being said, I have an excellent video about how the coronavirus totals, the death count totals, are being fudged by our government and state governments. So I thought that you will find that interesting. I will play that video for you tomorrow. And a few more because, you know, that's what I do. So thanks so much for tuning in. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which means we'll be back tomorrow. Same Mox time, same Mox channel. And until then, stay cool, because one of these days, this war is going to end. Stay cool till then.
Sometimes life can be a little overwhelming. Sometimes the weight of the world can be too much to bear. Sometimes you need to stop worrying and take a deep breath. Sometimes you need cannabis. Introducing Brightside, high-quality cannabis delivered right to your door. Brightside offers an extensive menu of strains and products to meet your needs. Choose the experience you want, and we'll send you the dankest herb, the real sticky icky. Some top-shelf marijuana. If you like what we send you, keep the whole jar. We'll even include some nugs for you to blaze. As part of Discovery, you'll get to try new strains and products. Side effects may include euphoria, increased appetite, uncontrollable giggles, elevated sensitivity to musical dopeness, and reduced anxiety. Tetrahydrocannabinol may also induce feelings of existential well-being and relentless optimism. With a Brightside subscription, you can get it once a month, once a week, or whenever you want, all at a price you'll like. And yes, this is a real company.
Do you know who I am?
You're the wizard.
Ask your doctor if cannabis is right for you. It probably is. Keep it Brightside.
I mean, this coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. I wish the coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits.
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.